And finally, back in Palm Beach, Florida, where we're awaiting pretty soon, a mile away, the arrival of our great president, who had quite a day raising the interests and reasserting the interests of the United States of America, which, of course, had been sold out by our prior president, who was crooked, demented, and a traitor. Obviously seen in the demeanor of the little teeny now unelected president of Ukraine, who is made into a world hero by the people who want one world, but is known to me as the product, 100% product, privileged product of a wealthy Ukrainian oligarch, organized criminal, and maybe the biggest, the one who laundered all the money for all the people who have been raping the Ukrainian people for decades. So when you listen to Zelensky, remember, his wealth came from money stolen from his people. So he's speaking for himself and whatever group of oligarch organized criminals he's associated with, which is white. From the beginning, this has been the wrong horse to back or the wrong leader for a people that have been abused for so long. Ukrainian people don't deserve this, but you're not going to help the Ukrainian people by elevating products of organized criminals like this. And he acted exactly like what he is, a privileged little comedic actor who is only interested in how many mansions he can get at the expense of his people. Don't give me this. He leads them into. He didn't lead them in any battles. He was off in Europe all the time. He's became a multi-millionaire from a massive crook who stole from his own people, which means he stole from his own people. What his game is now, who knows? Because the man plays games. He's not a legitimate, honest leader, and he's been called that by European countries and by people who are, to a very large extent, either Marxists or kind of really the silliest people in Europe. And what he did today was an absolute disgrace to his own people. So I think we're going to have a conversation with Kara Castronova, who was in Washington today and has covered various parts of this. And we want to get Kara's perspective on it. And I guess, where does it go from here?
That's right there. We're going to go to Kara. Right, we're just letting her. She's just spending a couple seconds here, setting up her shot in front of the.
Okay, well, let her do that.
Well,
can I show them the map?
You can.
Okay. You know I love maps and I want them oriented. I'll tell you what we're disputing. So the little.
I just got a couple steps. Sorry. Go ahead.
So the president has recommended to him, not only I shouldn't say the president. President doesn't recommend. The president has told him, you want a peace deal, you're going to have to give us a stake in your mineral rights. Now, there are numerous reasons for this that are extraordinarily brilliant and all in the interests of the United States. Gee, time that somebody thought about that, huh? So he's saying we want about $500 billion of your minerals or your mineral rights and an investment fund with you. The benefit to us is we get to catch up on China on minerals that we're going to need for AI, for quantum computing, for next level computing that actually could undermine any gains you make militarily. So this is really in our interest. This is an opportunity. If you were an American president who loved America, you take advantage of. Second, he's trying to explain to this small-minded little product of a organized crime oligarch, massive crook who stole from his own people, He's trying to get them to understand that if we have an economic interest in Ukraine, those of us who are common sense Americans would have a lot more interest in helping Ukraine. Not only helping Ukraine to ward off Russia, but helping Ukraine to do maybe what's more important, become an honest country. You are not. We are dealing with, and it's never changed, one of the 3 or 4 most corrupt countries in the world, from top to bottom within their government. Zelensky is a baby born of that by one of the worst, the guy who laundered all the money out of his country, which he had to know was raping his own people. That's their money that they were stealing. Why is Ukraine at all poor? Because they stole all the money. The Kolomoiskys and the Mykola Zashevskys who paid off the Bidens. These are the people who are stealing the money of the Ukrainian people. And it has to be they were stealing some of that military money. It would be impossible in Ukraine that the money wasn't stolen. Not all of it, some of it. He's dealing with a president who knows that. He used to be dealing with a president who benefited from it. So he could do things like lose his temper with that president. So when the left wing tries to replay this as Trump lost his temper, and Ted, would you show them the headline just in case they need support that this guy is a stupid little jackass who thinks he's entitled? He lost his temper on Biden.
That's right. And so
Biden didn't care. Biden couldn't care because this guy had so much on Biden, he could have buried him 5 times over. Biden lost temper with Zelensky in June phone call when Ukrainian leader asked for more aid. Well, then he had a better, easier chance of dealing with that because he could say to Biden, nice and quietly, you want to see the pictures Giuliani doesn't have of you, your son, and your perverted damn family? Would you like to me give up all the foreign bank accounts you got, jerko? You see, we used to have a crooked president. When he showed up in the White House, he acted like he was dealing with that same guy. He wasn't. Trump doesn't owe him anything. Trump doesn't owe anybody anything but the American people. And Trump and Vance acted exactly like that. Must have been hard for him to deal with an American president that is America first instead of Democrat first, Biden first, Hillary first, Bill Clinton first. Let's see how much money we can get. This guy better change his attitude quick. Although I think the best suggestion came from Lindsay Graham. Throw him out. Long term, he's not good for the Ukrainian people. They need some honest leaders. They've had one in like 25 years. One. And they poison him. The Russians poison him. Why? Because it's in the interest of the Russians. The interest of the Russians, not the Russian. The interest of the Russians people, it would be, if they got along with the Ukrainian people, which they probably do. They're the same people to a very large extent. Intermarried, worse than Irish and Catholic. Irish Catholic and Catholic, and Italian Catholic. They're intermarried like the mayor of Kyiv, Mr. Klitschko, former heavyweight champ of the world. It's half Ukrainian, half Russian. He's all Ukrainian in terms of patriotism, but that's the way it turned out. Some of them end up being all Russian in terms of patriotism. But they are, I'm taking sides now in the historical dispute. Are they distinct? Aren't they distinct? Who's really Russia? Who really brought the religion to the country? Those are all the disputes that are going on that go way back that we've taken you through at various times. But the reality is the two countries, if you want to say, are closely related, yes. If you want to say, but not closely related so that one can dominate the other, that's a fair conclusion. It's a fair conclusion. Or if you want to say they are closely related enough so that the other country would have an interest in dominating them, it should be by democratic peaceful means, not invasion like Putin did. But it's not the first time a country asserted itself over a land that it believed was clearly theirs. They are not so far, thank God, going into Poland or Latvia or Lithuania or the places that were not clearly theirs. This is an ambiguity of history. If you want to be something that Democrats haven't been for a long time, honest. So do we have Kara?
Well, speaking of patriotic and honest, let's bring in live from the White House briefing room, America's Mayor Live White House correspondent, Kara Castronova. Kara, you're on with the mayor.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, how are you? What a day here at the White House. I'm great. How are you?
So tell us from your perspective and what you got to see and hear, what happened.
I mean, it was an exciting day to say the least. We got up in the morning thinking we were going to go to a dual press conference and ask President Zelensky of Ukraine some questions, which I had prepared, and it turned out that got canceled. We all saw what transpired today with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance and, Zelensky. Trump accused him of being disrespectful and, taking advantage, really, a lot of people believe, of American taxpayer dollars. It's my belief, personally, that he was very, very enabled by the Biden administration, obviously, who welcomed here with open arms and basically granted him whatever he asked for. My question would have been to Zelensky in the press conference, would you please go on the record and thank the American taxpayers that funded your military when a lot of us couldn't afford groceries or cost of living? And actually, he came out and tweeted something of that sort after he was escorted off White House grounds. So I don't know if he read my mind or he realized that he really needs to start kissing up a little bit more in order to get the American people's support.
Well, I mean, it was quite a thing to see. You know what struck me the most? The expressions on his face, like a child.
Right.
You know, I mean, stupid trial lawyers do that in courtrooms. Here he is. I mean, he's a supplicant. We don't need him. America doesn't need him. Also, Ukrainian people, wonderful, but they've never done anything for America. You know, when you say Israel has done a lot for America, I can list 1,000 things they've done and put their people at risk for us. I can't list one that Ukraine's ever done. We're helping them out of the goodness of our heart. But when you got the godchild of a crook here, making all these assertions, what do you think he thought he was doing? He was also dressed up like a little bum.
I know. And President Trump, was being sarcastic, I believe, when he said, "Oh, wow, you got dressed up today." I mean, I guess for him that's dressing up, but he came here basically dressed as if he was going to the gym. Another reporter actually questioned him about his attire, and he said something along the lines of, "Oh, I don't have time to think about a suit. Like, give me a break. Anybody could put on a jacket." And it just shows. Right, and it just shows the absolute disrespect that he has coming here. Obviously, we know he disrespected the Biden administration, but don't come to Trump's White House dressed like a bum. So next time Trump said, when you're ready to talk about actual peace, then you're welcome to come back to the White House. Maybe then he'll actually show some respect and put on a jacket. But, I think that, like you said, going into negotiations with someone like President Trump and J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance, and making faces and sort of rolling his eyes and muttering things under his breath and interrupting the president of the United States really isn't a good idea when you're asking for all of these things, like a lot of money for his military.
Did you notice the reaction of his ambassador? The woman, yes, I don't know if you could see it. I didn't see it at the time until after, but she was going like this.
Right. She's like, the gig is up. The jig is up. What are we going to do? We have to go back to the drawing board. And they really do. Somebody needs to teach them that you can't negotiate with someone like President Trump the way that you did with Biden. He's actually competent. He's an alpha male. He's a real president. So, you can't use the same negotiation tactics that you used with Biden. And I think the takeaway, Lindsay Graham came out here and spoke to the press, took some questions. I was right there. He basically said that maybe it's time for Zelensky to go, which, I couldn't agree more with actually Lindsey Graham. And I don't agree with Lindsey Graham on everything, but that made sense. That made a lot of sense. Maybe it's time. I mean, I don't think this is anyone. A lot of people were saying, oh, Putin is loving this back in Russia. But to me, this isn't about Putin. This is about maybe there's a better suited person to lead Ukraine than than Zelensky, and there hasn't been, as you know, an election during this war. Zelensky, for the most part, has acted like a dictator. A lot of people say, and President Trump even alluded to that, where there's no media in Ukraine, where everything is state media. So there's a lot of things that he's done that align with dictatorship, and I think that maybe it's time the people of Ukraine start thinking about electing a new president.
When you think about it, they can't do worse. And they haven't had an honest president in their history. They had one honest president who got poisoned. But basically, the history of Ukraine, since it's gotten freedom, is corruption. They're considered one of the most corrupt countries on earth. And Zelensky is the product of that. He got all his money from a corrupt oligarch. So he would have no value in terms of thinking about he's thinking about his own wallet. But in any event, what happens now?
I don't know, but I'm sure you've seen, or maybe not, the meltdowns of the liberals on social media and the likes of Liz Cheney and the Bernie Sanders of the world saying, oh, this is crazy. How could Trump treat Zelensky this way? They're obviously all having their meltdowns, which is really crazy to me that they wouldn't get the president of the United States, their own president's back, or rather they would go to bat for the president of another country. To me, that seems a little bit strange, even if you are a Democrat or someone like Liz Cheney. But like President Trump said, and he actually took off to go to Florida at about 5 p.m. On the South Lawn in his helicopter, and he took some questions from the press. He came out wearing his "Make America Great Again" hat. He seemed to be in really good spirits. Said something along the lines of, Zelensky wanted to come back and talk, but I don't have time right now. He's heading to Florida for an event, but he's welcome when he's ready to talk peace to come back to the White House, when he's ready to talk peace and stop screaming Putin, 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 Putin. Like, people are sick and tired of it.
Well, I can tell you, Kara, I talked to the president very briefly before he left, and he is perfectly in control of the situation. He knows what he has to do. And he knows, one of the great benefits of this is if we can come out of this with an honest government for Ukraine, which it's never had. Because if we end up with the same corrupt group of organized crime oligarchs running Ukraine, no matter what the peace agreement, that'll be a great advantage to Putin. But people think differently about it. And it's very hard, I guess, when you've been dealing with a crook in the White House and a guy that you have all kinds of material on to extort, including embarrassing personal photographs, and to actually deal with a person that you have nothing on. And all he cares about is the good of his own people.
Exactly. And I think like he's used to for the past 4 years coming to this country where Congress is giving him standing ovations. And you have Hollywood celebrities who were wanting to play him in movies where he was just lauded as this hero. I think it really went to his head, and he's like this celebrity in his own mind. But he got a reality check today coming to this White House. There was no red carpet rolled out for him. He was not lauded as some sort of hero. He was treated like every other world leader that comes here. You come here, you respect the president of the United States. You are realistic in your expectations, which he is not realistic anymore in his expectations. And I think that really President Trump set the tone moving forward for what we can look forward to when it comes to talks with Ukraine.
Yeah, I think it set, believe it or not, I think it set the groundwork for a realistic peace. It's just going to take a little longer. Thank you, Kara. Excellent summary of a very, very historic day. Wow.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you soon. Be safe. Quite a thing to cover, huh? Who expected that this morning? I told you I came home, got in late from coming back from Srpska Republika and Rome, and I thought, oh, nice quiet day. We're on Trump time. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. That worked beautiful.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost. cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order...
Well, it's wonderful being back on American Mayor Live. And the first thing I want to do is to have you take a look at my friend Lindsay Graham, who I thought, and sometimes I get annoyed with Lindsay because he's a little back and forth. And remember, Lindsey Graham is probably Republican or Democrat, one of the biggest supporters of Zelensky, and has gone way out on a limb for the Ukraine government. Always has. Really, I think, as a successor to John McCain. But I know in the last year or so, he started to see a lot of the underlying corruption of Zelensky, that maybe he isn't exactly what he was painted as. But let Lindsay speak for himself. He's a very smart man. He has very independent views. And if he thought the president was acting improperly today in any way, he'd have been the first to say it. We know that. So this is like listening to a Democrat, not really, but who can speak honestly.
I just think there's no way the president could have signed that deal given the way he and JD and our country were treated. I don't know if you can put it back together. I don't know if you can repair the damage. And I've busted my ass to try to help Ukraine to make sure we help them win a war that would, get this war over in a way that we don't have further aggression, and Donald Trump's the man to do it. I told him this morning, I told him, don't take the bait. Don't let the media or anybody else get you into an argument with President Trump. What he's doing today is resetting the relationship. You should be grateful. Now, whether or not we can put this back together, I don't know. But Zelensky's going to be on your network tonight.
In Philadelphia.
If I were him, I would profusely apologize to the way he treated our president and the vice president in the Oval Office and show a little bit of gratitude for what the American people have done.
Senator, how does Moscow and Putin look at this?
I just think there's no way the president
President went on, I'm sorry, Lindsay went on later to say, on a reflection, I guess listening to some of Zelensky afterwards, maybe even talking to him, I don't know, because he's very close to Zelensky. He went on to say Zelensky's got to go. He's got to go. Now, Zelensky obviously didn't make the change from a president that his country corrupted massively, and who they owned, from the possession of the incriminating documents that would put him in jail for 100 years. This is him in Philadelphia supporting the Democrat candidate Kamala Harris and her ticket. You can see the little fellow walking along with the Pennsylvania politicians, Philadelphia politicians, who are clearly much bigger than him, and actually probably much tougher. And there he is with the Pennsylvania Democratic ticket, doing everything he can to boost him. Now, this does not happen in a vacuum. In 2016, the Ukrainian ambassador formally endorsed Hillary Clinton. The Ukrainian embassy in Ukraine was used as well-known as a Hillary Clinton campaign office. They produced disgusting, horrible, false material on Donald Trump Jr., and Paul Manafort, helped by Soros and helped by Joe Biden. And they interfered in a much more substantial way than Russia, although the only report that was done was on Russia. Then in 2020, they interfered again in the election by not revealing the file they had, which would have completely vindicated what the president asked little Zelensky to do, which was take a look at whether the charges of bribery against Biden were true. He had that all in his file. When he was talking to the president, he had the tape recordings, he had the witnesses. Ukraine was working with the crooked ambassador to keep witnesses from coming to the United States. I mean, if there's such a thing as foreign involvement in an election, the biggest colluder for those two elections, 16 and 20, were Ukraine, not Russia. And then we come to this election, and he comes here and campaigns for them. So now he's coming to the man he tried to destroy to ask for his support, who is willing to give it if he will enter into an agreement that would be good for both countries, and one that would tie America's economic gain to their economic gain, to win over a lot of people that think we've helped Ukraine too much. Remember, please don't get insulted, Ukraine. You're not one of those countries we owe. We do this because we share with you the desire for freedom. But if you're going to live under a corrupt government, what kind of freedom is that? You've had freedom, since 1 decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. You're going into the 4th. You've had one honest president. You haven't been stealing money except for one period of time. The guy you have now is the product of your crooked oligarchs. And you want us to support you. And how are you going to fare, no matter what your agreement with Russia, if you get most of what you want, if you keep stealing money in the levels of the billions and billions and billions and billions? And do you really think we're stupid enough to think that all that money really went where it was supposed to go when Biden wouldn't let it be audited? Nor did Zelensky. Nor can he explain it now. Sorry. We got to deal realistically with the world if we want to be safe. If you want to be safe, you should deal realistically with us. And don't jerk us around. That's over. You had a crook in the White House, and you had him by the balls. You got an independent man now who puts his country first, and he's willing to help you if you're willing to help yourself. So get rid of this little crook. Time to go. He's a terrible representative of your people. He even looks like a little slob. Okay. So this is really part 2, 3, 4, 5 of the Trump Vance course on Wake Up Europe. That includes the wonderful speech by Vice President Vance. And I was in Europe this week, and the reaction to it is not what the corrupt American and even to some extent West European media, they reacted to it a little more balanced way. By and large, with the people that I talk to, including on the street, they think Trump, they want Trump for their country. We want a Trump. Except in Italy, they know they have one with Giorgia Meloni, who I met with and had a wonderful conversation with. I mean, she's got it 100%, and we're going to bring that to you next week and go into detail on that. I mean, because yes, on this issue, she knows what's going on 100%. But on the broader where we're going and the possibility, which I believe is important, that not only Trump turns this thing around, but they get turned around even stronger. I mean, the Vance speech was laying down a marker that we're no longer just going to support you. We're going to support you if we share the same values. That's what the March of Democracy is about. Not if you're going to do like England is doing, putting people in jail for, what was it, Germany, thinking the wrong things. In England, they do similar things. They also refuse to investigate a lot of Islamic extremist crimes because they're afraid. And because you got a mayor in London who looks like he's on the other side. These things have got to straighten out. If we're going to fight these two tremendous ideologies that want to destroy us, Chinese communism and Islamic extremism. And it ends up, you take a country like Germany, they've basically been taken over by a lot of Islamic extremists and done nothing about it. And they suck up to China. And the new guy, elected as a right-winger, is rejecting the more right-wing party because he's more afraid of neo-Nazis, who, gosh, I think were effectively defeated last century. He's worried about neo-Nazis when he's got Islamic extremists who want to destroy him, and he's got Chinese communists who want to destroy him. And they're really powerful. And you've got to realize, unless you're the silliest, most idealistic jerk-off, that a lot of this neo-Nazi stuff in Europe is what racism is to the left-wing communist underminers are in the United States. We're all racist. And for me, you don't get me with a neo-Nazi charge. Since I was charged with being Hitler in 1994, when I first ended welfare and did the best thing I ever did for the people in New York, I got them jobs. I was Hitler. And then when they figured out I was Italian-American, they made me Mussolini. They didn't count on the fact that a bunch of my relatives fought against Mussolini. One of them lost his legs. Can't imagine in my family how much Mussolini was hated. A lot more than in your family, and I know who he is. Most of your little jackasses from Ivy League colleges don't even know who Mussolini is. You probably think he's some form of pasta. What the communists, what the Marxists did to our education is pathetic, 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 pathetic. So yesterday, in a 1-2 punch with today, Vance really took on the semi-dictator and foolish, idiotic semi-dictator prime minister of England, who is conducting probably the most repressive English government we've ever had. One of the cases they brought up was a 51-year-old British Army veteran and physiotherapist named Adam Smith Connor, who was ordered to pay $11,350 for violating a buffer zone. And what was he doing in front of the place where they were killing babies? He was praying, not interfering, not even yelling out, which he would have a right if he was far enough away. He was praying. Now, some of these people have gone to jail. Either England or Germany has put a guy in jail who had neo-Nazi literature in his apartment, and he was put in jail for thinking toxic thoughts. Do you know how frightening that is? Their crackdown and the use of Gestapo fascist tactics on their right-wing opponents makes them, as Orwell predicted, the neo-Nazis. What he predicted was they will project. They accuse you of what they do. Isn't that what the Democrats did for 4 years with Trump? That's what they're doing in Europe. And thank God Vance is calling it out. And he's saying, you want to be with us, you got to agree with free speech. Sorry, what good do we do investing all kinds of money in a country that's going to become authoritarian? So he avoided it. Stearmer avoided it because he's not a man of any substance or courage, and it's pathetic that he's running our strongest ally, although Israel's really our strongest ally. I mean, if we had to go into a war, who would we take with us? I have no question as to which one. As Vance said in his speech, and this will be proven out over and over again, including a case I'm going to talk about in a little while, in Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. Well, to try to smooth things over, Kimmer sent an invitation from King Charles III for Trump to make a state visit. He'll be the first second-term American president to ever do that. I don't know why they don't invite second-term presidents. I guess they think they're useless. And the president said on behalf of himself and Melania, he gratefully accepted the invitation. Now, isn't that nice? You also should know that the president has great regard for the United Kingdom, always has, and always did for the Queen. I assume that extends to the King. However, the crackdown on free speech in Great Britain is a matter of great concern. It may be stronger in Germany, maybe the strongest in Germany, somewhat in France, least of all in Italy, as you will find out. Of all the countries in Western Europe, Italy is the closest to us right now. Under 2.5 years of Prime Minister Meloni, who happens to be the 11th longest standing prime minister. Remember, their governments used to fall all the time. Did we hear Lindsay?
We did.
And now we will take a short break, and we'll catch up on some of the other news. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
To celebrate the new To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order...
This is Rudy Giuliani back with you on America's Mayor Live. Now, although this is not a major story in the news, it's a major story for me, and it should be a major story in the news. And the neglect of it is because is why it's happening. So not only was I in Italy and spent time with Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, the number two in the government, several of the people who are involved in their foreign affairs and their law enforcement. I also went to a country that I'm sure you don't know very much about, but it's a great example of the job, a difficult job that the Trump administration is going to have in straightening out the department that I think is the worst in government, the State Department. That's why I volunteered to be Secretary of State in 2017, because I felt that I was the one who understood what was wrong with it better than anyone and had the couillons to clean it out. Boom. They act against the interests of the United States. They did it to me when I was representing President Trump, and they really screwed him big time, including even Pompeo holding up a report for a year. Maybe one of the reasons he's not Secretary of State now. And is lukewarm. He was kind of mealy-mouthed today. So this visit to Srpska Republika was quite timely because it was 2 days and a day before the rendering of a verdict, which told the president of Srpska, which is really a Serbian country, a strange Clintonian, bastardized creation of a country, the way crooked Democrats create districts in order to get advantages when we're doing new censuses. You know, these ridiculous districts where you try to cut out everybody and get more Democrats. Like, this is a specialty of crooked Democrats, particularly of the Clintonian variety, of which there were only a few that were honest. Like the ones who didn't take the Lincoln bedroom payoff. So when they created this monstrosity to end the Bosnian, there were several. There was the Croatian-Bosnian war against Serbia. There was the Bosnian-Croatian war the Serbian-Croatian war against Bosnia. But here's what it comes down to. You got three different religions: Muslim, Roman Catholic, Orthodox Christianity. Three different religions, and in varying degrees, they have been at odds with each other for, well, the Muslim religion is about 1,400 years old. The split in Christianity is about 1,000 years old. So they've been at each other for a long, long time, and several centuries of relative peace under the Ottoman Empire, which was Muslim but moderate, and then under Tito, who put it together as the country of Yugoslavia. Now, Tito was a communist, maybe, when he wanted to be. Tito, in my view, was one of the most brilliant negotiators of the Cold War of anyone. He played the U.S. against Russia, and he tried to keep China away. Too bad he's not alive, because he understood that China was the more dangerous. And probably, I recall, thought that Kissinger and Nixon made a mistake, They should have gone the other way if they could. Separate Russia from China, not China from Russia, because China would ultimately be the bigger problem. Tremendously more potential. Tito always believed, but we found out after the Cold War that Russia was a bit of an exaggeration. It was never as powerful as it pretended to be. Now, China didn't pretend to be powerful. China always had the potential to be more powerful than anyone. And if ever harnessed the right way, could be very dangerous. So when Tito left, the whole thing that he held together fell apart. And they went to war with each other. Now the war had to be settled. And who comes into it? But the Clinton Marxist-trained nitwits. And Bill, who knows if he was paying attention, because who knows what Bill was doing on any given day when he was on the telephone or whatever. But his whatever he did in domestic policy, which wasn't so bad, Bill Clinton was a 100%, 1,000% disaster on foreign policy. Messed up the United States so badly, it's a disgrace, and consigned the Middle East to 30 years of death and destruction. You know, a damn thing about foreign policy, had no instinct for it, had no toughness, and all he wanted to do is make everybody happy and like him. Worst quality when you're dealing with an implacable enemy like communism. And he thought it was over because he was paying more attention to Monica Lewinsky than his briefings. Now, here's what they created. After or at the conclusion of the Serbian-Croatian war against Bosnia-Herzegovina, which they probably won, they decided to give all the benefits to Bosnia-Herzegovina, even though Bosnia-Herzegovina was a Muslim country with Muslim extremists inside the country. So they took, if you go on the screen now, are we on a screen? Well, we're not. And we should be. So they took Bosnia-Herzegovina, which is this little spot. Hold it. I got to get it all to work now. All right. It's this little spot. Well, it's not going to work for me. Well, you see Bosnia-Herzegovina. You see the designation, and you see that entire outline, including the lighter and darker orange colors. So the entire thing is Bosnia-Herzegovina. The orange thing is the central part of Bosnia-Herzegovina, which is 80% Muslim and Muslim, government controlled by Muslims. In that country, by the way, since the feckless Clinton administration created it, they have been a home to Al-Qaeda, a home to ISIS, and a home, and this is hard for me to forgive, to two of the people who came and destroyed us on September. In other words, two of the 9/11 hijackers, killers, murderers, and assassins who killed more Americans than in any other terrorist attack. We created that thing and made them the predominant, not the Christian countries, the Muslim countries. And not just a Muslim country that gave refuge to Muslim terrorist groups. Thank you, Bill. Great little headquarters for us. We really appreciate it. Now we can go kill Americans. Thank you, Bill. So from then on, every one of the things we do, State Department, UN, favors the Muslims over the Serbians. Now, the Serbians got a little something out of it. You see Serbia to the right. Now, Serbia is an independent country, happens to be one of the most successful in Eastern Europe. Bosnia-Herzegovina is sucking wind, and Serbia is a very rich country. If you see that darker, what color would you call it? It's almost brown, surrounding Bosnia. And you see the little name down at the bottom, Republika Srpska. That's the Serbian Republic. And that is carved out of Bosnia-Herzegovina as an autonomous thing. They don't know what to call it. An autonomous thing. Its capital is Banja Luka, which is in the northern part. You will also notice, I think, that it's separated. If you go to the meeting points of the two darker entities, Republika Srpska, you'll see orange passway there. Well, they have to go through. They have to go through a neutral territory, get recorded when they go from one side of their country to the other. Their theoretical capital is Sarajevo, which you see there, but their real capital is Banja Luka. So that creates enormous problems. And notice, more than half of the country, well, not quite half, is bordered right on Serbia. It's literally geographically a part of Serbia. This was all done to minimize the Christian control and maximize the ability of the Muslims. And by then we should have known it from the Islamic Republic of Iran desire to have jihad and take over as much Christian land as possible. Well, since this monstrosity was created to benefit Muslims over Christians, it has. It was, as I said, the headquarters or training grounds for two prominent groups that have killed many Americans, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and a number of others, smaller groups, some of which survived, some of which didn't. But it is a very, very happy Islamic extremist country, Bosnia-Herzegovina, that despises you. Our State Department loves them up until now, even now, under Rubio. Now, I don't blame this on him. I don't think you know what happened. But the person who put out the statement is Tammy Bruce from Fox. I don't know if she knows what she's doing. So here's what happened. Republika Srpska has its own president. They elected their president about a year and a half ago. The president disputed some of the rulings of the Supreme Court of Bosnia-Herzegovina, which is all Muslim. Think they're fair to Republika Srpska? Yeah, just the way the D.C. Circuit was fair to the J6 people. And number two, he made pronouncements that he thought were in the best interest of his country's domestic affairs. All of a sudden, this guy comes out like from above. This guy was appointed somehow as the overseer. I mean, this is like out of a horror movie, right? This guy was appointed like the overseer, and he comes from not Bosnia-Herzegovina, not Republika Srpska, not from Croatia, Serbia, or Montenegro in the neighborhood. He comes from Germany. He's from Germany. And the German says, yo, Republika Srpska, stop talking bad about Bosnia-Herzegovina, or you will go to jail if you criticize. And we will take your presidency away. Even though the people voted for you, I can take your presidency away. So they went to court. They had a trial. Seems like a classical, massive violation of free speech and absolute exercise of fascist privileges by, of course, Europe, which has become fascist. The elite have. And yesterday they rendered a judgment, and they said to President Dodik, Milorad Dodik, you're guilty, crime. What did he do? He disputed the validity of constitutional court judgments by Bosnia-Herzegovina on Republika Srpska. And he disputed some of the statements and things said by the politicians there who were Muslim. The Constitution and agreement between them says that Republika Srpska can be free on their own domestic issues. Their real subjugation to Bosnia-Herzegovina is on external affairs. As far as I can tell, in examining everything, it was all internal affairs. And this is yet another example of Germany, the United Kingdom, France, crushing, destroying the First Amendment rights because they are so afraid they're going to end up with conservative governments. And their constant refrain, neo-Nazi, 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 like the Democrats, racist, racist, racist. Now, neo-Nazi doesn't work on Republika Srpska. Republika Srpska lost thousands and thousands and thousands of people to the Nazis. The president that they are torturing lost relatives to the Nazis. Not only that, the Muslim part of that area supported Hitler through the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, who was a close friend of Adolf Hitler. And of course, they agreed with Hitler. They agreed on the elimination of the Jewish people, which they believe in today, which is what the country that yesterday we supported their verdict against a Christian president, we supported Bosnia-Herzegovina without anybody taking time at the State Department to tell poor Tammy Bruce that, do you know that Bosnia-Herzegovina sent and trained 2 people that came and helped to destroy your city on September 11th? I bet Tammy didn't know that. Do you know that it wasn't sporadic? For all the time they've been created, only jackasses like the Clintons or the kind of traitors they hired would not anticipate that this Muslim government would be a haven for terrorists that wanted to kill Americans, like Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, the one who not only destroyed the World Trade Center, but attacked American sailors, the USS Cole. That was after Clinton set up a nice little headquarters for him in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and we favor them. We obviously haven't gotten control of this yet. So I know this is being ignored by American papers, but this is a great example of the things that we got to get control of. They got us on completely the wrong side here. We are favoring the country that celebrated the September 11 destruction. We're favoring the country that supports Hamas. We're favoring the country that wants to see the elimination of the Jewish people. We are torturing or agreeing with the torture and persecution of a man who supports Israel, has been cited by Bibi Netanyahu as a big supporter, who condemns what Hamas did, and who happened to have a grand celebration when Donald Trump was elected, which I kind of like. Maybe that's why they started going after him, because they had a celebration in the Muslim part that Tammy Bruce is supporting and the State Department. They had a big celebration for the Americans killed on 9/11, for the Jews killed on October 7. And they support Hamas 100%. Please. I'll attribute this to, it's early in the administration, but what the hell do we work hard for if you're going to be elevating people who want to kill Americans all over the world? Get control of that damn place. Personally, Justice Department's way ahead of your State Department. So, Marco, I know you got a lot on your plate, but wake up, huh? It's got to be done right away. Otherwise, they'll do the same thing they did to every other Secretary of State, and then they own them. Like when I went to Pompeo with the entire case against Biden, and he covered it up, or his department did, for a year. Small case, but an important one. Get control of it. Turn it around and kick those people out from that area who are working for either Muslim extremists or the communists, because you've got plenty of them in the State Department, filled with anti-American, American-hating, self-important Ivy League jackasses. We'll be back in a few minutes. The Son of the Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order...
Welcome back. This is Rudy Giuliani, America's Mayor Live. I want you to see the tweet from the State Department that is so ignorant of the right place America should be, supporting the country that supported the 9/11 hijackers and attacking the country that supported Donald Trump. Can you read that, Ted?
So this is from the this is from the State Department spokesperson, a friend of yours, Mayor Tammy Bruce, February 26th. This is 2 days ago. Tammy Bruce writes, the United States has invested for decades in a stable Bosnia and Herzegovina. Herzegovina. We firmly oppose any actions by local leaders that would undermine security and stability. We support Dayton Accords and Bosnia and Herzegovina's sovereignty and territorial integrity. On a separate tweet, separate X post, Ms. Bruce writes, we acknowledge the Court of Bosnia and Herzegovina's verdict today concerning Republika Srpska's president, Milorad Dodik.
Okay, here's the problem with that. We support Bosnia Herzegovina since 1994 or 95, when the Clinton America Last people created it. So let's look at the experience. They've supported Al-Qaeda that killed over 3,000 Americans when you count our soldiers. They supported ISIS, which killed thousands of Americans. They supported the attack on the World Trade Center and had celebrations. This is the country she's supporting. And we've been supporting all this time. I don't know, you start to figure out maybe we made a mistake. I mean, she was on Fox. She's a nice lady. But what the hell is she doing if she doesn't know this? We got to teach it to her. I mean, if they handed that to me, I'd say, Bosnia Herzegovina, are you out of your effing mind? They killed New Yorkers. She's a New Yorker. Let's take a look at this. We're favoring them. You sure as hell wouldn't say we have some glorious history with them. Maybe it just started because they've been killing us since they started. She says it was a court that imposed a judgment. But there's a legitimate question as to whether that support has jurisdiction over the president they're imposing it on, who's the president of an autonomous region. In fact, it was created that way to give the Serbians some protection. This is like supporting Judge Moron or Judge Merchan, except it's worse. Because in addition to the more ancient depravities against the United States and attacks on the United States, this country supported the attack on Israel on October 7th, and they support Hamas. And the guy that they are persecuting, because you didn't look into it, supports Israel. Has a citation from Netanyahu to make that clear. He's accused of being a neo-Nazi, but his countrymen and his relatives were killed by the Nazis. And finally, it shouldn't be the deciding factor, but Tammy, come on, he appointed you. He had a big celebration when Trump was elected. The others celebrated for Biden when he won 4 years ago. Who favors the Muslim extremists? Obama, Biden. You can't do much more than give them billions of dollars like we do in Iran. Oh, one last thing. Even though this country is Sunni and the Iranians are Shiite, which I hope you know before you made that pronouncement, Iran has a big position there overlooking Sunni and Shiite because they utilize Bosnia-Herzegovina for their hatred of the United States and of Israel. And we are on exactly the side that used to be our side when Joe Biden, the traitor, was president. And the election has meant not a goddamn thing. I'm sorry, I take that out. Not a damn thing to the State Department. I know it's only a few days, but don't let this happen again. That place got to be cleaned out with the same enthusiasm, patriotism, and courage that they're cleaning out the Justice Department and the FBI and some other agencies. Maybe Elon Musk should come and take a look at you. Well, Ted, Gene Hackman died, which I don't even want to describe the circumstances. He and his wife and dog are found in the house decomposed. I don't want to get into, right now, it looks like a personal matter. May not be. There's a little. I don't know what I want to call it, gossip or news, or that this may not be without intervention by someone doing a foul deed. However, basically, he was 95 and has been failing for quite some time. Do you have that You have that picture of him recently with his
Yeah, we'll bring it up in a
with his wife?
Have that in a second. But of course, Mayor, the sheriff has just announced that autopsies reveal no carbon monoxide. No carbon monoxide was found in their body. And that was, of course, the original.
The original thought was they were accidentally killed by carbon monoxide.
Tested negative for carbon monoxide. Does that mean that?
Well, carbon monoxide wouldn't necessarily tell you that. I mean, yes, it would be.
Negative means
it would be a way. It would be a way that they could have died accidentally. It could be a way in which they killed themselves, or it could be the way in which somebody else killed them. So I don't know that the absence of carbon monoxide tells you anything other than it wasn't done by carbon monoxide, but they did die.
Did police? Oh, I know we don't want to be critical. Whoever first came out after responding to the scene, did they make a mistake by basically saying no foul play is suspected?
Yeah, it's sort of like the FBI saying, and we're going to go into that in a minute, at Butler, after one day they were asked to comment on the investigation. The FBI said, oh, we haven't had a chance to investigate it enough. But was anybody else involved, any third party? Absolutely.
Yeah. No, how can you say with certain? You got 2 dead bodies and a dead dog.
If you don't know, if you haven't investigated, obviously it's a wishful thinking that creates a legitimate conspiracy theory. But in any event,
What's your favorite movie?
oh, my favorite was The Godfather. You know that.
Sorry. Your favorite Gene Hackman movie?
Oh, French Connection, the first one. So I knew it backwards and forwards.
French Connection.
Yeah. I mean, I knew the detective that he played, Eddie Doyle.
Real life.
How do you like? I know the name. I haven't even seen it.
You've never seen it?
No, I had. No, I didn't see the name recently. I still remember it from when he plays Eddie Doyle. He does a great. I knew Eddie Doyle. He plays him. He plays him. He is him. This is the first one that made him really famous.
This movie?
This movie, The French Connection. Yeah.
Really? Let's see if we can.
A little dark. I mean, it's an old picture. They must have some versions of it that have been enhanced, but it was a great, great movie. He dominated.
All right, Popeye's here. Get your hands on your heads. Get off the bar and get on the wall. Come on, move. Move. Come on, sweetheart, move. Come on, move out. All right, come on. Face the window. Move. Face the wall. Turn around there. Turn around. Move. Come on, move. Hands out of your pocket. Turn around. Turn around. Come on, you heart. Come on. Turn around, big man. Come on, turn around. Get on the wall. Get on. Turn around. Get him up. Turn around. Hey.
Oh, sure, I remember.
You drop that. Pick it up.
Those hands up.
Pick it up. Come on, move.
What are you looking at?
All right, bring it here. Get your hands out of your pockets. What's my name?
Doyle.
What?
Mr. Doyle.
Come here. You pick your feet. Do you get over there? Get your hands on your head. Hold them up. We told you people were coming back. We're gonna keep coming back here until you clean this bar up. Keep your eye on your neighbor. If he drops something that belongs to you. What is this, a fucking hospital here? Huh? Turn around there, fella. What do we got here, huh? This belong to you? Huh? Stand up there, naughty. Get your hands on your fucking head. Get in there. You want to take a ride there, fat man?
Oh, bullshit.
Huh? Pay attention. We're going to ask questions later. Turn around. All right, shut up. Damn it. Shut up! Anybody want a milkshake? All right, come over here. You and you. Hey, Whiskers! Come over here. Move ass when I call you. Get in. You!
Well, you can see so many others. There are so many others that I could mention that I loved. Of course, his playing in the Superman movies. I remember a movie where he played a secretary of the Treasury, if I recall, who killed his mistress accidentally, I think, and he had to be uncovered. And it was very, 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 very good movie. Oh gosh, he played cowboy movies fabulously. Wow, what a cowboy, and what a detective. Since I knew the detective there, he played him perfectly. And that's what he would do. He'd go into a bar and it was called rousting them. And that's the way they would keep control of drugs. Nowadays, they'd all go to jail for doing it, right? So he died with his wife under these very strange circumstances where the body was discovered, could be a week after they died. He won an Academy Award for The French Connection. Not his first movie, but his first famous movie. There's a picture of him with Hanoi Jane, because she won the Academy Award there for supporting Vietnam against America and glorying in the fact that American troops were being killed. Why she ever had a career after that, I don't know. Well, I'm only, of course, exaggerating, but he didn't look like he was actually happy standing next to Hanoi Jane, if you see the picture. But we're not going to show a picture of her because she's not an American. She was going to leave America any number of times and never did us the favor of leading America.
Leaving, right?
but he was nominated again for another role. I don't remember which one. He was in The French Connection. He was in Hoosiers, where he played a great basketball coach. He was in Superman, where he played the villain in Superman. Maybe Mississippi Burning, huh? Where he played a FBI detective coming into a southern town to investigate civil rights murders, where he had to gain the trust of the local black population, as well as get into the police department. And with a more zealous FBI agent as his partner. I thought that was a part that was Academy Award worthy. Unforgiven was one of the most powerful parts. The Poseidon Adventure. Oh well. Maybe the basketball coach.
Yes.
Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Maybe that was
classic.
that was sort of a part that put him in a nicer character where you could get a sense of him. Apparently a very nice man and extremely well liked. And we'll have to see, without all kinds of silly speculation, about the tragedy that happened to him and his wife of many years. They were married for a long time. It was his third wife, but they were married a very, very long time. And now they're trying to piece together what the heck happened. His wife was Betsy Arakawa, and it all happened in Santa Fe, which is where they were spending, their last years. He's been unable to really go out or do things for quite some time. And I think that picture kind of demonstrates that. That was taken about a year ago, where she was helping him, I guess, just take a walk. And I don't know if you have a picture of the house they lived in. It was quite a beautiful house.
Mayor, so in a situation where you have a high-profile person, 2 dead bodies, a dead dog, apparently they were there for multiple weeks, no carbon monoxide detected. What's some of the early steps that you would have?
Well, I would imagine
doing
they're going to
to
have to now
investigate?
do toxicology, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
different
they
than
told
carbon
us there's no carbon monoxide, but that you usually could tell pretty quickly. I don't know if a full toxicology report is back yet. Maybe there were a lot of pills around.
That's right.
I don't know what those pills were. At his age, a small amount of pills could be rather dangerous, right?
Right.
Now, she was younger. I think she was 65, and at least from the picture we saw a year ago, she looked to be in relatively good health. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't at this point. We'll have to see.
I remember, didn't they do a story on him a year or two ago? Maybe there was one picture of him with her. I remember seeing this. And you read the New York Post every day. It might have been a year or two ago. It wasn't a big story. I think it was just a Gene Hackman sighting.
Right.
And I thought, oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah. He's a very interesting guy,
Yeah.
very interesting background, and a great
What a-
long career. And played many different roles. So let's catch people up on what they need to know going into the weekend. USAID has been frozen now. Although wait, maybe not. Roberts paused the order Wednesday and gave plaintiffs until noon Friday to respond. We don't know how it came out. That's a 90-day freeze on the aid given by USAID, which now includes millions to Hamas, the terrorist, animalistic, rapist murderers. The same ones Bosnia-Herzegovina supports. The Canada-Mexico tariffs are going on next week. Right now, nothing to interrupt it, says the president. Illegal aliens are not being allowed to register. I mean, not being allowed not to register. If you are an illegal alien, you have to be registered. If you're not, you get thrown out immediately. Now, you're going to find that there are probably as many of those as there are the ones who came in, because the old studies from Harvard, MIT, Princeton said For every known, there's at least 50 to 200% unknowns. So the known was 8. That means 4 to 8 million. These are the people that never were registered. But you're not allowed to be in the United States if you're not registered. So the ones who came in and we let out, they're over that one hurdle. They're registered. But the ones who aren't are not over that hurdle. They are now being ordered as of, I think now, to register. If they don't, they're going to be put in a detention center and thrown out. Not a bad idea, because the people who come in completely undetected are by and large the worst. They're the high value ones. That's the way the Chinese will bring in their biggest and best spies. That's the way they'll bring in their most drugs and fentanyl. So this is a recognition of what Biden ignored completely. They talked about the people who were apprehended and set free. They talked about the gotaways who they saw but couldn't catch. They never talked about the people they never saw. That's millions of people. And as you would imagine, the worst ones. We're going to take up another new thing going on. DEI is going out, but DIL is coming in. DIL is disparate impact liability. Now, what does that do? It allows an advocacy group to impose racial-based policies on our lives without any evidence of actual racial discrimination. This is what they tried to do to my police department that I beat off when I was mayor, but it caught up with Bloomberg 4 or 5 years later. It works this way. I'll use a non-New York example. The fire department of Durham, North Carolina, I think this horrible thing. They made all applicants take a written exam and then pick the ones based on who had the highest scores. Why would you want the people with the highest scores? Why not take some of the dummies? Activists complained. They didn't have to sue. Scared the living daylights out of the frightened Durham, North Carolina, which is where I think that case took place, the Duke case took place. That's an atrocity to American justice. And they decided they were going to take black applicants who had lower scores. So they took 16 black applicants and got rid of 16 more qualified applicants. So now the Justice Department has dismissed the case, along with 3 others in the fire departments of Maryland, Georgia, and Indiana. And they're going to reinstate the more qualified people. New York City has been doing this for years. That's going to take quite a bit. It's going to take quite a bit to undo, screwing around with the scores based on not performance, but the color of your skin or your ethnic background or if you contribute money to the Democratic Party. No wonder they can't fight fires in California. Huh? I can't figure out if there's water in the Johnny pumps. To you, fire hydrants. To me, from Brooklyn, Johnny pumps. Anti-Semitism has reared its ugly head. Where? At Bernard. Don't get all confused. Columbia. Bernard is part of Columbia. Same group of Jew haters. Same group. School is an atrocity. It's an abomination. Ted and I made the determination, which we're willing to bring to any reliable agency in the Trump administration. We made the determination that it's more Jewish hating than Harvard.
Yeah.
Bigger, stronger, and more virulent Jew haters than Harvard. Well, breaking out with the women now at Bernard. Used to be the women at Bernard, but you're not allowed to have women colleges, male colleges, or probably.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know, all of them joined together, even the Catholic ones. They're all male, female, all that stuff. Now, what are they? They're like, there are no males. There are no females.
Birthing persons and non-birthing persons.
I'm a non-birthing person.
I believe so.
No, I can't have a baby.
Pretty clear.
I promise I can't have a baby. That movie Conclave, which people will be going to watch because, God forbid, there may be a conclave, ends with the selection of a pope. I'm going to tell you the ending. You don't have to go watch it. Who is not even trans. This guy was born with a penis and ovaries. if possible. And they made him Pope. I say, Pope, until they change it, supposed to be a male. Whatever that is, ain't no male.
What a slap in the face to the church.
Yeah, it was all done by the communist, Chinese communist investors in Hollywood that dominate most of the movies. And they actually change endings. Who knows? That might have had a different ending.
Yeah.
They may have elected an American.
Yeah. They want that. They don't want to lose that Chinese.
No, they want to do anything they can to demean the Catholic Church that they're trying to persecute.
Right.
As well as the other Christians, Falun Gong, and of course, wiping out the Uyghur people as we watch them and Democrats support them and Americans do business with them. And the NBA glorifies them. Don't watch basketball. Don't watch NBA basketball. It's anti-American. Nice recommendation by my good friend Carl Campanile and his colleagues Christina Narazanya and Chris Nessie. First sentence of their article: President Trump's administration should yank federal funding from Columbia University and Barnard College. Yes, for having done nothing to protect Jews, and by their inaction, to have created violence and worse against the Jewish community. And it's been going on for too long a time now to tolerate it. Just pull all their money. And by the way, look at the rest of them. Just pull all their money. What the hell are we giving them money for? We're giving them money to teach people to hate Jewish people. Oh, by the way, don't get fat and happy. They hate Christians too. How about they hate God? Why? Because they're communists.
Bingo.
Democrats, please, please, please. You did a great job, my Jewish friends, in moving toward Donald Trump, but not enough. Have you considered this Gallup poll? 33% of Democrats favor Israel. 66% view Israel, the Jewish state, unfavorably. That's almost 2-1 against the Jewish homeland. That's almost 2-1 for the refuge for Jews. If there ever again becomes virulent, violent anti-Semitism, take a look at Eastern Europe. I'm not Eastern Europe. Take a look at Western Europe. Eastern Europe is fine. Take a look at Eastern Europe now. Take a look at what happened in France. Burning synagogues. And Germany's turning. It's the first time since the Gallup poll first posed a question in 1989 that most of a major U.S. political party members had a negative opinion of Israel. Now, so will you take it the party you don't vote for? 89% favor Israel. 89% of Republicans favor Israel. 33% Democrats favor Israel. What party do you belong to if you want a continued Jewish state? And the Democrats don't just not favor it, the 65%. They want it gone. A lot of them are demonstrating with Hamas. Come on. Now, the American people, 54% have an overall favorable opinion and 41% unfavorable. But that's driven by a 60% Democrat unfavorability. If the Democrats were even half the Republicans, oh well. So, Barnard College, big breakout of anti-Semitism. Chuck Schumer had told the president of Columbia, which Barnard is part of, not to worry about congressional oversight because the university's political problems are really only among Republicans. He's not concerned. Trader, multimillionaire trader. How'd you become a multimillionaire, Chuck? I never knew you made millions in the Senate. What'd you have Nancy Pelosi as a advisor on finance or a husband? The AP has gone so left now, they had to admit they're getting money from terrorist sympathizers. What's the AP doing getting money from terrorist sympathizers? The Omdiar Network gave $1 million in March to the ACLU, and then another $500,000 to action committees trying to defeat Trump and Pence. They are stridently far left and viciously opposed to Israel. That's the group that gave millions to the AP. What's the AP doing money taken from political radicals? They also, I didn't know this. Did you know that the AP takes 81 of their $60.9 million in grants, okay, come from left-wing organizations? The KR Foundation in Denmark, which phases a rapid removal and phasing out of fossil fuels so we can go dark. Also, the Hewlett Foundation, which was one of the big supporters and produced studies for Joe Biden's inflationary spending. They give this money to AP. So AP is a bribed entity of the far left and the Islamic terrorists. The Epstein report came out with much anticipation, but all it is sort of a summary or names, or no names, just categories. And the people who were on the front page, very, very happy, have now gone crazy. So all I can say is, and I see no reason why the Trump Justice Department put the whole thing out. It seems to me they're concerned probably about the accuracy of things, because there's nothing to say that everything in Epstein's records are accurate. So let's give them a little more time. I'm not ready to pull the plug and go crazy here. Some right-wing groups are. Elon is supporting a pay raise for many government officials. For Congress. One would say, why? Actually, think about it. He's doing it to reduce corruption. We'll talk about that more next week. I've debated that often, and I see both sides of it. It's hard to say, if a guy wants to be in government, maybe he should make a sacrifice. But then how much of a sacrifice? But then maybe you shouldn't go into government if you're not. I mean, I don't know. And how much would make a difference for you selling your soul? Maybe we should have people in government who don't sell their soul no matter what. But that's asking for too much. That's asking for too many people like Trump and me. A Russian terrorist bit an immigration agent. The German election is a disaster. The right wing won, but the right wing is going to lose because one group won't associate with the other because they say they're neo-Nazi. Meanwhile, the group that won't associate it is acting like neo-Nazis by cracking down on free speech. So maybe everybody should straighten that all out and take a good look at these neo-Nazi charges in Europe. They happen too often. They happen the way racist charges happen in this country, and they happen in many cases where they're silly. Sometimes maybe they can't be determined as well, and that's really dangerous. But when you charge a man whose family got killed by the Nazis with being a neo-Nazi and now presently in support of Israel, I don't know what kind of neo-Nazi he is. Maybe you're the neo-Nazi. I mean, Biden charges us with racism, and he's the guy who said he didn't want his kids to go to school in the black jungle. Now, he's the one that made sure black kids spent their life in prison for nothing. Well, his kid was the privileged kid who was a degenerate drug addict. Who's a racist? I never did anything like that. There's a great story about the mafia that I'm going to tell you next week, but there's a big mafia trial going on in Brooklyn, and we'll have a few more details about it. But it really does illustrate the point that was made by a mafia don in Sicily who said the gene pool has deteriorated. These guys are an embarrassment, and the other organized crime groups are much better than us. Much worse than us, maybe is the right way. Governor DeSantis is trying to keep 2 convicted perverts, dangerous ones, out of Florida. Human traffickers who have been released. Tristan and his creepy-looking brother, who were major traffickers. They were in Romania, and Romania has let them go. The Panda is going to land in Fort Lauderdale. And a really terrific governor, DeSantis. He's on top of all this. He's trying to keep him out.
So who you got?
Maybe we should try to keep him out of the United States, huh?
Who you got? Casey DeSantis or Byron Donalds? Or are you not prepared to answer that
Is
question?
Casey going to run?
People are what's the word?
I got to start off with
forecasting.
I'm not going to endorse, but it's really tough to find somebody that I would think was better than Byron Donalds. But that's not an endorsement, just a statement of my early
Is that
position.
some New York bias there? Am I sensing some New York bias? Byron Donalds is a New Yorker.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that.
But so was everybody in Florida.
I was gonna say it's a good bet. It's a good guess. If you meet somebody down here, if you meet someone in South Florida, 60% chance are from New York, 40% chance are from Florida.
I think he wins then.
Statewide?
Bezos is kicking the living daylights out of the Washington Post.
Oh, that was
Keep going, Bezos. The organization's a communist organization. Straighten it out.
he's got these liberals turning on him now.
Quite a insightful article in the New York Post, which I'll leave you to read, by Dana Kennedy, about the questions about the first assassin who has disappeared from the face of the earth. And it raises some very, very interesting questions about all his contacts with foreign countries, never explored by the Biden FBI, but never leading to anything. Thomas Matthew Crooks, I sometimes forget his name, did the murder. He had a long and extensive group of contacts with countries in Europe. Gone? No other social media contacts? His family lives holed up in a little house in Butler, right near about 30 miles from Butler County, which is the place where the attempted murder took place. Remember, he murdered one man, seriously wounded 2, and wounded and almost killed the future president of the United States. But we don't know nothing about him. He was a ghost. The only neighbors say, nice guy until he disappeared and went to college. They think he was maybe radicalized in college, but then the people in college say that's not true. On the other hand, he had contacts with any number of foreign countries that raise enormous possibilities, but no information. No information. No toxicology report was released after the coroner's examination, right? Whether there was one or whether there wasn't, unless there was one, we'll never know, because the family cremated the body immediately. I don't know why somebody didn't go into court and stop that. This whole thing raises more questions than are answered. And I can tell you, and I'll just say it very simply because we're kind of out of time, the Secret Service on this one, Butler County, did everything wrong. You have to conclude this was the most incompetent group of Secret Service agents ever found on Earth, like the Keystone Cops and worse, or they did it on purpose. The FBI should never have been asked to investigate this because they were still under the guy who tried to frame Trump 3 times. He did everything he could, including prostitute himself to remove Trump from office. Would he cover up a murder? I don't know. I mean, usually the murder is committed by the person with the biggest alibi. That was the guy sitting in the White House or Kamala. Nobody investigated them. In fact, they were ruled out the first day before there was any investigation. Now, a veteran private detective who was employed by somebody to investigate, Dana doesn't reveal who, believes a criminal network was operating with crooks at the time of the assassination attempt, that it's still in existence and it still wants to kill Trump. His name is Doug Hackman. Several times he was pushed around when he went to the scene because the FBI didn't want him near it. You think they'd want his help? We don't think he acted alone, Hackman told the Post. This took a lot of coordination. In my view, Crooks was handled by more than one individual, and he was used for this. And I wouldn't preclude the possibility that there were people at the rally itself helping him. Hackman said one of the electronic devices geolocated with Crooks at several different places at the time of the shooting is still pinging today, or as of the time of the article, at the Bethel Park High School. Remember, he was on a perch 130 yards away, easily observable. He shoots 8 times. The Secret Service sharpshooter doesn't shoot until he gets an opportunity to kill the president, but fails. He kills Corey Comparatore, 50 years old, seriously wounds David Dutch and James Copeman Haver. If the Secret Service had worked with the local police, the event never would have taken place, or he would have been arrested an hour earlier. If the sharpshooter began shooting on the first shot, he never would have killed those people. Hackman, the investigator, was personally escorted out of Butler County 2 times. Maybe he was getting too close. And there are encrypted, described as numerous messages from the murderer to Belgium, New Zealand, and Germany. According to none other than National Security Advisor Mike Walls. Now, Clay Higgins, who investigated it for our Congress, who should investigate nothing. I mean, this is like, what's his face's investigation of Biden. It misses all the relevant evidence. I think not even deliberately, because they're nincompoops, worried about getting back to their district, raising money, getting on television. Well, Clay Higgins has never seen Hackman's geofencing data, but downplayed its significance. Would you downplay it if you never saw it? He told the Post he believes Crooks acted alone, and there was no conspiracy. He also said the FBI continually obstructed his investigation. There's only one theory: he acted alone. But he's never seen the geofencing report or the result of all that foreign communication, or questioned why he was cremated, or why the hell the Secret Service didn't stop it when there was suspicion and danger, or why the guy was allowed up on the roof in the first place and everybody saw him, and why did the Secret Service take so long to shoot him even after he started shooting, and why when they picked him up and took him out of when they pushed him, they put his head up first. And we had a Republican congressman investigating that, and he thinks it was not coordinated, just out of the blue. This guy about which there appears to be no reason why he would turn like this. They say he was on drugs, except there's no report of that. And no evidence that he was a drug user, independent of this. They used terms like wild lunatic, incredibly calculating. And it looks like it looks like, according to his friends and the people who knew him, the description that he was a troubled loner, that he wore military fatigues and threatened to shoot up his high school in 2019 and was rejected by his school's rifle club is uniformly not true. So if you have a conspiracy theory about this, when it's presented as an open and shut case, as Mark Sirgaros told the Post, it's presented like an open and shut case, like, oh, he went crazy, but it doesn't add up. It's like JFK. Do we think we've become so modern that wouldn't happen again? He doubts any of the things about how he was radicalized, and he says there's a deeper explanation, and it's been covered up. But nobody in Congress will, not even the Republicans, will have the guts to stand up for that. Let's see what Kash Patel can do with it. Because if Hackman is right, there's a continuing danger to the President of the United States. And I think that should be very much focused on. Finally, there's respiratory illness breaking out in China, big time. I trust we're going to take a better look at it this time. We don't have communists now in these health agencies. We've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who knows exactly how we were victimized last time better than anyone else. So let's take a look. It may be nothing. It may be something. But if it is something, they'll be using it to try to hurt us. So we'll be staying on top of that. Maybe we'll have more on that for you. We'll see what happens over the weekend here in Palm Beach, because the action will be here in Palm Beach if it happens. If
the winter White House.
The
year-round White House.
Yeah, too bad it isn't in the snow, because we'd have, it was a pope once who required a king to crawl in the snow to seek an apology, to give an apology to the Pope.
Oh, those were the days.
I would just seek one thing from little Zelensky. Go back to being a comedian, because that's what you are. Okay. God bless. Oh, everyone that helped us on our trip to Republika Srpska. I hope my country can straighten out its confusion and get on the side that supports them, not the side that kills them. I would love to see the American president and Giorgia Meloni get closer and closer, because that could be as Margaret Thatcher. She's got the substance, she's got the background, and she is growing and growing as a figure, both in her own country and in Europe. And we'll go into detail on that next week. We would have done it tonight, but I think throwing the little crook out of the White House was, more of a story, and see if we can straighten out the real underlying problems there, which have a lot to do with corruption in Ukraine. Ain't going to work in the future if they remain the most corrupt, second most corrupt, third most corrupt government in Europe, which they are. Pray for the people of Israel. We have sort of forgotten about that. Pray for the people of Ukraine. They're very good people, victimized by the crooks and the people who take money from the crooks, like Zelensky. And pray for the people of Iran. And, of course, pray for our country and our president and our vice president. They have done us proud this week, as they have since the day they came into office. God bless America! It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply